You wake up one morning, and the world feels wrong. Not just a little off, but disturbingly irrational. People are saying things that make no sense. They're believing stories with no evidence. They're acting as if logic itself has been erased overnight. And then it hits you. This isn't a nightmare. This is reality. Now comes the terrifying thought. What if you're not the crazy one? What if you're one of the last sane people in a society that has completely lost its mind? Today, we're going to dissect the uncomfortable, almost forbidden truth about mass psychosis. The quiet epidemic that's infected civilizations for centuries. We'll uncover how entire societies can sink into collective madness, why it happens, and most importantly, how you can recognize it before it drags you under. Stay with me until the end, because the final insight won't just shift how you think, it may shatter the way you see everything. If this kind of truth matters to you, subscribe, like, comment, and share. It's one of the few ways to fight back against the tide of mental and spiritual decay that's sweeping across our world. Let's begin. Let's start with a brutal truth. Human beings are not naturally rational. We like to pretend we are. We invented science, philosophy, mathematics. Yet history tells a darker story. Time and time again, empires have collapsed not from foreign invasion, but from the rot of collective delusion eating them alive from within. In the 17th century, René Descartes warned that our senses could deceive us. What he didn't know was that entire populations could deceive themselves. Willingly. Psychologists now call this mass formation psychosis. It's when large groups of people lose touch with reality, hypnotized by false narratives, emotional hysteria, or manipulative ideologies. The psychiatrist Carl Jung warned that when people lose meaning, when they no longer have purpose or spiritual grounding, they become vulnerable to the herd. And the herd, it's not wise. It's driven by fear, propaganda, and the desperate need to belong, even if that means embracing lies. Look around. Social media outrage cycles, news that feeds panic instead of truth, slogans repeated without a second thought, people defending movements they've never researched, attacking anyone who dares to ask questions. French philosopher Gustave Le Bon saw it long before Twitter existed. In The Crowd, he explained how individuals inside a group lose their sense of responsibility and stop thinking like adults. Instead, they become emotional, reactionary, and childlike, a perfect audience for manipulation. And here's the danger. The more people surrender their ability to think critically, the easier they are to control. Fear is the ultimate accelerant. When fear takes hold, reason dies. Leaders, media, and institutions, knowingly or not, have exploited this for centuries. From religious crusades to authoritarian regimes, from financial panics to public health hysteria, fear has been used as a weapon to drive the masses exactly where the powerful want them to go. The worst part? When the herd is lost in madness, they don't see themselves as insane. They think you are. Questioning becomes dangerous. Truth becomes treason. Silence becomes survival. In such a world, real sanity is rare and often lonely. So, how do you resist? The first step is awareness. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Mass psychosis thrives in silence. It feeds on unexamined thoughts. It grows strongest when people stop asking why. Think about how hard it is now to have a deep, rational conversation. People dodge questions, mock curiosity, and label dissent as hate. Why? Because they're not defending truth. They're defending the illusion that keeps them comfortable. And history is merciless to truth-tellers. Galileo was condemned for saying the Earth orbits the sun. Socrates was executed for asking inconvenient questions. Ordinary citizens in oppressive regimes have been imprisoned, or worse, simply for refusing to believe the official story. To break free, you must reclaim your mind. That begins with the hardest act a human being can commit: the rejection of comfort. Question everything. Not out of bitterness, not out of rebellion for rebellion's sake, but from a deeper loyalty to reality itself. Every day, you are flooded with ideas that feel safe because they are popular, that feel true because they are repeated, that feel righteous because they are shouted the loudest. But repetition does not create truth. Popularity does not equal reality. To accept an idea simply because it's fashionable is to surrender your sovereignty. The price of truth is often isolation. When you refuse to play along with the illusions of the herd, you risk exile. You may be mocked, dismissed, even hated. But ask yourself, would you rather be loved for a lie or stand alone for what is real? Because here's the brutal fact: sanity is not a democracy. The truth doesn't bend to majority vote. One person can be right while millions are wrong. And if that person happens to be you, your duty is clear. Hold the line. Even if you stand alone, you stand free. Thanks for listening.